to the channel. Today we are going to get into the curse of Julia Brown, voodoo, prophecy, and the hurricane that destroyed a town. In the early 1900s, the small swampy town of Frenier, Louisiana was home to Julia Brown, a mysterious and powerful voodoo priestess. Respected by some and feared by others, Julia served as a spiritual healer for her community. Yet, in her final days, the relationship between Julia and her town seemed to turn dark. As her health declined, she began to predict a terrible fate that would befall Frenier upon her death, a prophecy that would soon become legendary in Louisiana folklore. Julia Brown was known for her spiritual healing and voodoo rituals, and many in Frenier sought her help for physical ailments or personal problems. Despite her healing reputation, there was always an air of unpredictability about her. Stories of her dark power spread as quickly as those of her healing abilities. Shortly before her death in September 1915, Julia began making a chilling prediction that would send shivers down the spines of those who knew her. According to witnesses, she would sit on her porch and sing an eerie chant. "One day I'm going to die and I'm going to take the whole town with me." At first, the locals dismissed her words as nothing more than a cryptic threat or the musings of an old woman near death. But as the days passed, Julia's prediction hung in the air and her presence became more unnerving. Was she capable of calling upon the forces of nature to exact some sort of vengeance? Some in Frenier believed it was possible. On September 29, 1915, Julia Brown passed away and the townspeople gathered for her funeral. The skies were dark that day, but no one could have predicted the devastation about to unfold. As Julia's body was laid to rest, a massive hurricane, the New Orleans hurricane of 1915, descended upon the area, bringing with it winds over 125 miles per hour and a storm surge that would change the town forever. The hurricane wreaked havoc on Frenier along with the nearby towns of Ruddock and Napton. Homes were destroyed and many lives were lost as the water from Lake Pontchartrain swallowed up the land. Frenier, already a small and vulnerable community, was virtually wiped off the map. The few survivors who escaped with their lives described the storm as unlike anything they had ever experienced. Frenier had been obliterated in a single day, just as Julia Brown had predicted. For the survivors and those who later learned of the tragedy, Julia Brown's prophecy seemed too eerily accurate to be a coincidence. Her words, "I'm going to take the whole town with me," echoed in the aftermath of the storm. Many believe that the voodoo priestess had placed a curse on Frenier and that the hurricane was the fulfillment of her deadly promise. This belief only grew stronger in the years that followed. The legend of Julia Brown became woven into the fabric of Louisiana folklore, with some claiming that her restless spirit still haunts the swamps near Frenier. Locals have reported strange occurrences such as ghostly apparitions, disembodied voices, and the haunting sound of a woman singing through the misty swamps. The story of Julia Brown isn't just a ghost tale, it's also rooted in the rich spiritual traditions of Louisiana. Voodoo, a syncretic religion that blends African spiritual practices with Catholicism, was an important part of life for many in the region, especially in isolated rural communities like Frenier. Practitioners like Julia Brown were both feared and respected, seen as possessing the power to heal and to harm. In a time when natural disasters were often seen as acts of divine retribution or supernatural intervention, it's no surprise that Julia's prophecy took on a life of its own. Many believe that voodoo priests and priestesses could control the forces of nature, and Julia Brown's predictions seem to be proof of that belief. While the legend of Julia Brown's curse has become a popular paranormal story, some historians argue that the events were simply a tragic coincidence. Hurricanes were common in the Gulf region, and Frenier's low-lying location made it particularly vulnerable to such storms. Still, the timing of Julia's death and the hurricane's arrival has kept people wondering for over a century. Whether or not Julia Brown truly cursed the town, the impact of her story on local culture and folklore is undeniable. For some, her tale is a cautionary reminder of the power of voodoo and the mysteries of the natural world. For others, it is a ghost story kept alive by the voices of those who swear they've heard Julia's song drifting through the swamp. To this day, the swamps near Frenier are a destination for paranormal enthusiasts and thrill seekers. Swamp tours frequently recount the story of Julia Brown, adding to the eerie atmosphere of the region. Many who claim to experience unsettling sensations, some hear whispers or distant singing, while others feel an inexplicable chill in the air. Julia's spirit, it seems, is still very much alive in the lore of Louisiana. The legend of Julia Brown endures not just as a tale of natural disaster, but as a story that intertwines spirituality, prophecy, and the unseen forces that may still linger in the shadows of Frenier's lost past.